Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're doing something a little different. We're going to reverse engineer a piece of technology that seems to completely break the laws of physics. We're going to deconstruct how it works, and, more importantly, figure out how to undo what it does.
All right, let's dive right in. The big question is this: how do you turn something living, breathing, and organic into an inert, solid piece of rock in an instant? It feels like it should be magic, but it's not. The answer is pure physics, just a very exotic kind of physics.
So, to figure out how to reverse this whole petrification thing, we first have to really get a grip on the weapon that causes it. The way to think about this is, the effect is like an incredibly complex lock. Our job today is to understand every single tumbler and pin inside it so that we can forge the perfect key.
Okay, first up, let's deconstruct the science behind the effect itself. We need to break down the fundamental principles that even make a reality-bending technology like this possible to begin with.
The weapon's incredible power all stems from this principle right here, the Kozyrev-Dirac link. Now, this is a pretty wild idea. It suggests that energy doesn't just exist in the universe, it's literally a product of the fabric of space-time itself. Energy, time, gravity, they're all connected.
In this table here, this shows you the core relationship. Just look how energy, represented by Planck's constant, is directly tied to the speed of light and the gravitational constant. The implication of that is just staggering. It means if you can find a way to locally tweak gravity or the speed of light, you can inject or remove enormous amounts of energy, enough to literally rearrange matter at the molecular level.
But, okay, how do you actually deliver that energy? This isn't your standard radio wave or light beam. The weapon uses something way more exotic, something that operates completely outside of conventional physics to get the job done.
So before we get into the weird stuff, let's set a baseline. We're all familiar with transverse waves. Think of light or microwaves. They oscillate up and down, perpendicular to the direction they're traveling. Just like ripples moving across the surface of a pond.
Scalar waves, though, they're a whole different animal. They're longitudinal, meaning they compress and expand in the same direction they're traveling, kind of like sound. But here's the crazy part. They don't move through air or water. They move through the very fabric of space, the zero-point energy field itself. And this right here, this illustrates the core difference perfectly. A transverse wave moves across a medium. A scalar wave moves through it. And because it operates in that zero-point energy field, it just bypasses the normal rules of electromagnetism. That's why your standard energy shields are completely useless against it.
So you might be thinking, you must need some giant, complicated machine to create one of these things, right? Well, actually, the engineering is surprisingly elegant. It's not about one powerful source. It's about taking two opposing electromagnetic fields and getting them to cancel each other out perfectly, leaving behind nothing but pure scalar energy.
Let's break down the equation here. You start with two EM fields, right? But the real secret sauce is that interaction term. That little piece of the equation represents the precise cancellation of all the normal electromagnetic stuff. It strips everything away, leaving only pure weaponized scalar energy.
So you've got this perfectly engineered wave. What does it actually do to a target? Well, it's a three-step process. First, you get a resonance match. The wave is tuned to the exact frequency of the carbon and water bonds in organic tissue. This allows for order imposition, where all those chaotic molecules are forced into a perfect, stable, crystalline state. And the result? The phase shift, an instantaneous transition from living tissue to solid stone.
Okay, we've officially picked the lock apart. We understand the mechanism. Now, it's time to forge the key. Let's build a reversal protocol based on everything we've just learned.
The goal here is all about precision. It's not about brute force. We're not trying to shatter the stone. We're trying to unlock it. And to do that, as it says here, we need the exact inverse frequency to carefully convince that crystalline structure to go back to the way it was.
And believe it or not, all of this mind-bending, reality-warping physics boils down to one beautiful, simple concept: a perfect opposite, a perfect phase inversion. We need a wave that is exactly 180 degrees out of phase with the one that did the damage.
You can see that perfect mathematical symmetry right here on this slide. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The inverse field is just the locking field times -1. Where the original wave enforced order, this new wave does the exact opposite. It acts like a negative resistance, dissolving the rigid structure that was forced onto the molecules.
So this protocol basically rewinds the whole process. Step 1, you apply the anti-scalar frequency. This immediately begins to destabilize the temporal order, briefly making the molecules chaotic again. And that chaos is what triggers rehydration, allowing the water that's still there to rebond with the carbon, reverting the entire thing right back into organic tissue.
All right, so we've solved the problem. But let's just zoom out for a second and really think about what a technology like this, what it truly implies about the nature of our reality.
The biggest takeaway here is that the fundamental constants of the universe, they're being treated not as immutable rules, but as controllable variables. This technology proves that the relationship between time, gravity, and energy isn't fixed. It can be bent. It can be manipulated.
And that leaves us with one last kinda chilling thought. If the very bedrock of physics can be bent, if matter can be rearranged and then reversed on command, it really forces you to ask a pretty big question. What other fundamental rules of our universe are just sitting there, waiting to be rewritten?